អង្គុយចុះ
Please be seated. The court is now in session. Before giving the floor to International Counsel for Mr. Nguyen Chia to put further question for civil party, the Chamber is now issuing its oral ruling on fitness of the accused. The trial chamber now issues its oral ruling on the fitness of both accused to stand trial. Pursuant to Rule 32, the chamber appointed two experts to assess whether the accused remain fit to stand trial. Dr. Chan Kin Ming, a geriatrician, and Dr. Hut Lina, a psychiatrist, examined and assessed both accused on 19th and 20th January 2015. On 23rd January 2015, the Chamber heard the experts' evidence in open court, given in response to the Chamber's questions and posed by the parties. Having considered the experts' evidence and their fitness assessment reports, the court finds that both accused Nguyen Chia and Khieu Samphan remain fit to stand trial. Each accused retains the capacity to participate meaningfully in his own defense and to understand the essential of the proceedings. As advised by the experts, the Chamber will order appropriate testing and monitoring of the accused's conditions. As part of its ruling, the Chamber also revises its current sitting schedule. Given Khieu Samphan's current health, the experts advised the Chamber to shorten the typical court day in order to include longer breaks. Therefore, beginning today, 27 January 2015, the Chamber will begin proceedings at 9 a.m. and adjourn for lunch at 11:30 a.m. The Chamber will resume proceedings at 1:30 p.m. and adjourn at 4 p.m. Beginning 2nd February 2015, the trial chamber will generally sit 4 days a week on Monday through Thursday when possible. A revised schedule and order of call for witnesses, experts, and civil parties to be heard during the current trial session will be circulated to the parties. The Chamber will issue separate written decision on each of the accused witness to stand trial in due course. Now the Chamber hands over the floor to International Counsel for Mr. Nguyen Chia to put further questions for Madam Civil Party. You may now proceed.
Good morning, Madam Kum Leng. My name is Victor Koppe. I'm the international lawyer for Nguyen Chia. I have some questions for you this morning. You were born in 1951 in Liabor village. Did you grow up in that village? In other words, before you went to Phnom Penh, did you live there? Did you go to school? Can you tell me a little bit about that, please?
Answer. I live in Liabor commune since I was young, and I also grew up there. After I got married, I came to live in Phnom Penh.
I understood it correctly that you were married at the age of 19, so that you got married in 1970, and that you moved to Phnom Penh in 1972. That is correct, right?
Answer, you are correct.
Did your brothers and sisters grow up the same way as you did?
Answer, my elder sisters lived in Liebo. After they got married, they came to live in Phnom Penh. Two of my elder sisters live in Phnom Penh after their marriage, and one of my elder sisters lived in the province.
Your father was commune chief. Do you know when he became, which year he became a commune chief in Leabor?
Answer, he was commune chief when I was very young. He was in that position when I was too young. When he was single, he was a clerk, and after his marriage to my mother for a few years, he became the commune chief.
Do you know whether he was also born or grew up in Leabor village?
Answer, my father was born in Liebo commune in different village from my birthplace. He was born to the west of a railroad. After he got married to my mother, he came to live in the same village as when I was born.
Madam Kumleng, how about your mother? Was she also born in Liebur commune, and did she also grow up there?
Answer, yes, my mother was born in commune Liebo. As for my mother, I already told you that he was born in Liebo commune, but in different village from me.
How about your father and how about your mother? Did they have brothers and sisters living in Leabur commune?
Answer, their siblings live in Liebo. They were all deceased, and my mother passed away in 1980s. My father passed away in 1986, and my mother passed away in 2006.
But the siblings of your father and mother, did they live in that same commune, let's say, in the years that you were living there as well?
Answer, in the Sangkum Rethnayom regime, they lived in that commune, and after a long time, they were separated from each other. The siblings of my father went into jungle, some of them, and as for the siblings for my mother, they came to live in Takao province.
When you got married when you were 19, Do you remember whether at your wedding there were many cousins, nephews and nieces from Leibun commune?
Answer: No. The guests of a Phnom Penh resident, only older people who were my relatives, they came to join my wedding, and most of the guests were from Phnom Penh.
How about your husband, Madam Kumleng, Sudim? Was he born as you in Leabul village?
Answer: My husband, he was in the same in village and the same commune. We had some relation.
Do you know whether he, like yourself, until he married you, grew up in Leabul?
Answer: He studied, he got education. First he worked in Kampong Chnang province. After that he worked in Phnom Penh. At Lon Nol period he worked in Phnom Penh.
Is it correct that you and your husband moved to Phnom Penh in 1972?
Answer: Yes, you are right.
And to summarize, would it be fair, or would it be accurate if I tell you that both you and your husband lived in Leabur village up until 1972, the year you moved to Phnom Penh?
Answer: No. My husband worked in Kampong Chnang and Kampong Pus provinces, and after that he came to live in Phnom Penh. When I moved to Phnom Penh, I got married with him in 1972 in Phnom Penh. And then at the time he worked and I stayed home with my parents.
Do you know, Madam Kumleng, when your husband became a captain in the Lon Nol army, or maybe even a major?
Answer: Yes, I knew. He first was a captain, and after that he got the rank as a major. At the time, the Phnom Penh failed when he became a major.
So, in April 75, when you, together with your husband, together with your father, together with your siblings moved back, he was a major. Is that correct?
Answer: Yes, it is correct.
The reason I'm asking you these questions is the following, Madam Kumleng. I'm trying to understand your position and the position of your husband and the position of your family. You said on various occasions that you were considered to be new people because you came from Phnom Penh on 17 April 75. Yet on the other hand, it seemed that you and your family went back to the place where you grew up. how did people know that you were in fact a new person and not a base person who had been living there practically all her life?
Answer: yes, everyone knew.
But your family had lived in Leobo village. You were grown up there. You, I'm sure, knew many people, former classmates, former girlfriends. How was it that people decided that you were a new person and not, in fact, a base person?
Answer: they knew that we lived in Phnom Penh because we moved to Phnom Penh. We were new people. If we went into jungle, we would be considered base people.
But you didn't have, let's say, for instance, an identity card which said that you were a new person, or you weren't obliged to have something with you or wear something that would indicate that you are a new person. So my question would be, how did that go in practice? How would people in charge know?
President, please hold on, Mr. Kope. There was no translation a while ago. Court officer, you are instructed to facilitate with AV technician. President, you may now resume your questioning, Mr. Victor Kope.
Thank you, President. So my question to you, Madam Kum Neng, excuse me, is how in daily life would people working for the authorities in fact know or understand that you were a new person rather than a base person?
Answer: we were new people. Because we were sent to the place in Liebo. We were the enemy because my husband had just been arrested and we were considered new people. There were many new people, not only my family was considered new people.
But if you were, let's say, walking in Labor village and somebody would ask you who you are, then you would be able to tell that you were born there, you grew up there, you went to school there, your family lives there. So how would these authorities still be able to determine that you are a new person?
Answer: those who live close to commune village, they knew my father. My father's name was Jutam. I could not hide his biography. He lived in Phnom Penh with his children. He went from Takao and moved to live in Phnom Penh.
I will move on, Madam Kum Leng. A question about the death of your daughter. would you be able to remember when exactly after 17 April that happened?
Answer. It was in 1976.
And do you remember how old your child was when she passed away?
She was 3 years old.
And if I understood your testimony correctly, you said that she died because of starvation. She didn't have enough to eat. Is that correct?
Answer. Yes, because she was deprived of food. As a result, she became sick, and after that, she passed away.
That is a very tragic event, Madam Kumleng. But I'm trying to understand how it was possible for you not to find any food in the direct area, an area of the country where you grew up, where you had many family members who never left for Phnom Penh, maybe. Would you be able to tell us how it was not possible for you to find food for your 3-year-old daughter?
Answer. In 1976, we could not go to search for any food to eat. First, my daughter got a measles, and after that, she lost her hair. She was admitted into hospital, and there was no medicine. That is why she passed away. And the original cause of her death was the result of having no food to eat. She, scavenged food in the dirt, and it was very dirty.
But you're saying your 3-year-old daughter was hungry. Did you not try when you saw that to ask for food with people that you knew from the area? Maybe I should stop for a second.
Answer. I am very saddened of this tragic event.
I understand that very well, Madam Kumleng, and I understand very well that these are difficult questions that I'm asking. But I'm trying to find out whether your child died of starvation, or maybe possibly of the measles, or of another reason. Would you be able to tell us if you tried to find food with family members or people that you knew from the area?
Answer. After she got sick, she could not eat anything. She could not eat rice. And we did not have any extra food for her. There was no medicine at the time.
But would it be correct to say, if your daughter would have been able to eat, she would have continue to live. Let me rephrase my question. Was it she didn't eat because there was not enough food in the commune, or because your child wasn't able to eat physically?
Answer. Although we had a meal or food for her to eat, she could not eat because she was sick and there was no medicine to treat and cure her. She passed away because there was no medicine and she could not eat.
I'll finish this difficult subject, Madam Kumleng, but would it be fair if I say to you that maybe your daughter died because of the measles and not because of lack of food?
Answer. It was the combined cause of my daughters that she did not had enough food to eat. She did not and she got measles and she was weak.
What about your other children, Madam Kumleng? Did they have enough to eat?
Answer. As for my other children, they live in children unit. I lived in the village and I did not have enough food. And as for my children, I believe they did not have enough food to eat as well in children unit.
I'll move on to another subject, Madam Kumleng, and that is the arrest of your husband. You gave some testimony earlier about that event. I'm not entirely sure around which date it was that he was taken away. No.
Yes, I do. He was taken at 9 o'clock at night in 1975. That is about 3 or 4 months after we reached the village.
So that would be August 75, would that be correct?
Yes, that is correct. I think it was in August when they took him away. I was sent to the K3 unit when it was the transplanting season.
Did I understand correctly? You said that they took him to K3? It
was Kong Bay, or the 3rd unit. It belongs to the village, and we were to the south of the commune office. And further down that, it was the 4th unit, or in Khmer we say Kong Boon, and I was in the 3rd unit, or Kong Bay.
Maybe it's the translation, or maybe I'm not understanding you correctly, but is it your testimony that your husband, when they took him away, was sent to K3?
My husband was taken away for study session, meant he was killed not through K3. He was killed to the west of Ligbo Pagoda, and after he had been killed, I was sent to Kong Bay, or the 3rd unit.
In your witness statement, E3/5635, ERN 00678-302, at the background paragraph, you say that your husband was arrested and sent to be re-educated. What exactly did you mean when you gave that statement?
They arrested him and sent him for re-education, but that was only a lie. He was actually tied with a rope. His hands were tied to the back of his back. And his siblings saw what happened, even his mother, but they did not do anything to intervene.
Well, what exactly did they tell you that they saw?
They were the best people, so they knew what happened. They told me that my husband had been killed. His hands were tied behind his back, and he was walked by people who had a gun, and he was killed. And I wept when I was told that.
I beg your pardon, Madame Kumleng, but that's something that I just don't understand. You're saying that these people knew because they were the base people. Technically, you weren't a base person, but you were just as much a local in that area as the other people. So, can you explain to us how they know and you didn't?
I was a new person who just left Phnom Penh. I did not even know what to be re-educated means. But for the best people, they knew it very well. When someone was sent for re-education, it means that person would be sent to be killed. And for serious offenders, they would be killed nearby. And for the lesser serious offense prisoners, they would be sent to be detained somewhere, and they would be forced to engage in hard labor, and later on they would be smashed. And for high-ranking officials, they would have been killed nearby and not to be sent for any re-education further. And I learned of that information through the base people.
Did anybody ever tell you that he or she saw with his own eyes, with her own eyes, the killing of your husband?
They told me personally only after the fall of the regime that my husband was killed to the west of Ligbo Pagoda. And that person learned of that event from her husband, and she told me about it. That he was killed near a til tree. And I only learned that, as I said, only in 1979. and by the time I learned of that information, those people who involved in the killing of my husband were afraid, so they either fled away from the village or they hid themselves somewhere, and they might have fled to live in Battambang province or in Mong area. But as a Cambodian, it is not my intention to seek any revenge against those people. Although I knew that they involved in the killing of my husband, I don't want to commit any sin.
Do you know when in 1979 it was that you heard that your husband had been killed?
It was quite long after. Let me clarify. In fact, in 1979, they did not tell me yet. And from my recollection, maybe they told me in 1984 or 1990. I cannot recall it exactly.
Yesterday, if I understood you correctly, Madam Kumleng, you testified that after they took your husband away from your home, that you heard 3 shots being fired. Maybe I misunderstood, but it seemed that you wanted to give testimony to the effect that right on the spot your husband was killed. Is it maybe now your testimony that you no, let me ask you a question. What is your testimony as to the events that led to the killing of your husband?
I knew about the 3 shots being fired after they took my husband away. The people who took him away, there were 3 of them, and one had a rifle. When they brought him away, they did not tie him up yet. And when they reached a coconut tree near the house of his mother and other siblings, they took a rope from a cow and tied his hands behind his back. The mother wept, and as a result, she later on died in 1976.
But to finish this line of questioning, would it be accurate if I say that the 3 shots that you heard had nothing to do with the fate of your husband?
Of course, the shots related to the killing, because I saw them carrying a rifle, and not only they shot my husband to death, as I was told, they also used a hoe to force him to dig a pit before they actually killed him.
But if that were the case, Madam Kumleng, would it be correct if I tell you that you would have heard already in August 75 what had happened to your husband?
Yes, the event took place in 1975, and as a result, he left me behind as a widow.
I'll move on to another subject, Madam Kumleng, and that's the visit of upper echelon leaders that you gave testimony earlier to. I have a few follow-up questions. What exactly were the words of the unit chief to you, telling you or explaining you that one of those persons that you saw was a man called Nguyen Chia?
The unit chief told us that the upper echelon leaders of Cambodia, that is, of Democratic Cambodia, came from Phnom Penh, and they were senior leaders. They came to visit the base, and that we had to work without making any complaint, and that we had to work actively.
Did the unit chief tell you what the functions were of those men that you saw? What positions they had?
Yes. They were leaders of the Democratic Cambodia regime. They were the Khmer Rouge.
But my question is whether the unit chief told you which positions within the government they had as leaders.
Their positions were the leaders of the entire Democratic Cambodia regime. The unit chief told us that the three people were the leaders of Democratic Cambodia regime throughout the country. And they worked every day based on the instructions of Angkar.
But Madam Kum Leng, also right now in Cambodia, you have people who are Prime Minister, Chairman of the Senate, Minister of Foreign Affairs, that type of function, I mean. Did the unit chief tell you anything of the functions, the positions rather, of these men?
No, he did not speak about the positions of those men. We were only told that they were the senior leaders of the entire country, and their rank was equivalent to that of the king in the previous regime.
Do you remember the name that the unit chief used to tell you that this leader was Nguyen Chia?
They said they were Pol Pot, Khieu Samphan, and Nguyen Chia.
So the unit chief used the name Nguyen Chia, correct?
Yes.
Madam Kum Lang, do you know the name of Von Vet?
No, I don't recognize this name.
Do you know the name Son Sen?
I heard of that name. However, I only heard of that name after the fall of the regime.
Do you know the name Sao Pim?
I only heard of that name in this regime, not during the previous regime.
Do you remember, Madam Witness, when Pol Pot and Nuon Chea formally announced that it was in fact the Communist Party of Kampuchea that was ruling the country and not Angkar?
All the best people knew that Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, and Khieu Samphan were leaders of Democratic Cambodia. They had the authority to control everything, and they were the one who assigned work plans to the subordinates, and they were the initiators of a work plans.
Madam Kubleng, it's very important if you give testimony to tell the court the things that you remembered then and not the things that you heard after 79. So are you able to recall excuse me, what you remembered in 1977? Do you remember an event sometime that year that it became known that it wasn't Angkar that was ruling the country, but in fact the Communist Party of Kampuchea?
I recall that they were Angkar and they were the leaders of the Communist Party of Kampuchea. Everybody talked about that. And we heard about it in 1975, 1977, that they were senior leaders.
So is it your testimony that you knew already in 75 and 76 that Nuon Chea was one of the leaders?
Nuon Chea, Khieu Samphan, and Pol Pot, they were at the ministerial level. As for Tamok, he was at the provincial level.
Madam Kumleng, would it surprise you if I would tell you that almost nobody in the world knew about Nuon Chea until at the earliest November 77?
President, witness, you do not need to respond to this question because this question wants to elicit the proposition or assumption that you have to make. It is not necessary for you to do so.
I agree, Mr. President. I'll move on. But not without ending with my final question. Would it be possible that the leaders that you saw in February 77 were leaders, maybe, but that after 79 you figured that these leaders must be Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, and Tamok? Would that be a possibility?
Because I saw them coming to inspect the work site, and I knew them. So I knew that they were leaders of a Democratic Cambodia regime.
Thank you, Madam Kumleng. I have some short, very different questions. One question would be to you, Klai Kram. Where is that?
No, I am not familiar with the Svai Crown.
Maybe it's my pronunciation. I refer for the parties to paragraph 14 of E3/5635. That is the witness statement of the civil party. And upon 14, she says, ERN 006-78304. I saw several people arrested and sent to Klai Kram. My question to you is, where is Klai Kram?
I was in Liegbo commune, but I did not hear about the Svai Crown. Is Svai Crown in Kinswai district? I am not at all familiar with it.
Mr. President, with your leave, maybe if the Khmer interpreter has the actual E3 document in front of him on paragraph 14, I read in the English version Klai Crown, but I'm not quite sure if that's translated or interpreted properly.
The National Council for Nuon Chia's defense team, could you have your counterpart, and maybe you can pronounce it in Khmer language?
Klai Kraum. You wrote it yourself, Madam Witness. I saw several people arrested and sent to Klai Kraum.
President, National Council, can you try to find a document in Khmer rather than to read the English translation? Can you please look at the actual Khmer language? Because through the interpretation I am also unclear.
Where did it?
Council, Mr. President, in the Khmer language is called Klai Kro Ương.
Klai Kro Ương.
President, Klai Kro Ương, is that correct? And civil party, are you familiar with this name? Answer. I only familiar with Kla Kro Hum and Kliang Kriang Trachan.
And my question to you, Madam Witness, civil party, is where is Klai Kraum?
I had never been there. I was been only at Krang Tachan. I only heard of that name, Kla Krahum. As for Krang Tachan, I had been there rather frequently.
But in your witness statement on the paragraph 14, you say, I saw several people arrested and sent to Klai Kraum. Is it your testimony that you don't actually know where that is?
I heard of Klakrahum, which was located to the west of Antasaum. As for Krantachan, I heard about it, and I learned of the location as I was told by the base people, and those people, they had been sent, or they were sent to Krantachan.
Have you heard if maybe your husband was either sent to Krantachan or Klai Kraum?
No, he would not be sent there, as my husband was accused of being a traitor and opposed Angkar, as he held a rank. And when they took him away, they had a rifle and a hoe. And I learned of that information through his mother and his other sibling. As for my another elder brother, when he was tied up and sent away, it was likely that he would have been sent to that location, as you mentioned.
It's almost time. So I have a last question, and we might have translation issues with that, because I understand that we have possibly 3 versions of something. I refer to D22/250211. That is the report on civil party application. EIN 00550930 and 31. On that piece of paper there is a box called alleged harm, and in the English version it says the applicant suffers from psychological trauma as a result of losing her husband, and then it says she lost her hand during working in the Khmer Rouge regime. Now I understand that the Khmer version talks about losing a finger and the French version talks about losing an arm. So my question to you is, what exactly happened to you during the Khmer Rouge regime physically with your finger, hand or arm? Would you be able to explain us?
That is the truth. I lost my finger not during the time that the Khmer Rouge engaged in fighting. In fact, I lost it during a harvest season after 17 April 1975. At that time, wherever we arrived, we would go to the rice field and harvest the rice. And we had to grind it, and at that time the grinder had failed, and then it cut my middle finger on my left arm. President, did it happen after 17 April 1975 or 1979? Could you clearly clarify that? My apology, Mr. President, it's after 7 January 1979.
And maybe not necessary now anymore, but just let the record reflect that the civil party showed the finger of one of her hands and not, as wrongly translated, her actual hand or even her arm.
President, thank you, Council. The time is appropriate for a lunch break. We will take a break now and return at 1:30 this afternoon. And court officer, could you assist this civil party during the lunch break and invite her to return to the courtroom before 1:30? And security personnel, please take Nguyen Chi through the holding cell downstairs. And as for Kia Sampon, bring him to the courtroom before 1:30. The court is now in recess.
Je me lève
ខ្ញុំងើ
pour
បឡើង
ceux qui
ដើម្បី
sont
អ្នក
morts.
ស្លាប់បាត់បង់ជីវិត
Que la parole des autres
ដែលសម្ដីអ្នកផ្សេងនិងជាពិសេសសម្ដីរបស់ដើមបណ្ដឹងរដ្ឋប្រវេណី
revivre ici
បានធ្វើឲ្យរស់ឡើងវិញនៅក្នុងសវនាការនេះ ក្នុងរយៈពេលមួយដ៏ខ្លី
ខ្ញុំមិនដែលប្រាថ្នាឬក៏បានសម្រេច